And if you look at the official strategy, they still talk about possible threats to Europe and to other areas where they can't leave totally because our interests are still involved. Meanwhile, just reinforcing that we're going to rape the Western Hemisphere as much as we want, like we've done for the last 140 years before that. So where's this going to go? I don't know. I honestly don't know. From the Russian side, I think that they're finally just running out of any desire to even participate in this farce. It's going to be settled on the battlefield. What's going to happen to the European Union? I think at least a few countries are probably going to go, thanks, we've had enough, we're leaving. Will they be allowed to leave like the British were? I don't know. The European Union was much more democratic when the British had their exit. Would the Hungarians or the Slovakians be able to leave? I don't know. I honestly don't know at this point, because if they start to go, that could have a cascading effect on the European Union as a whole. And those powers that be that are sitting up in Brussels, they don't want to lose power. And the more power they grab, the more desperate they become. Let me just look at what they're doing to European citizens. Again, sanctions inside of their own countries. They can't buy, they can't earn, they can't sell, they can't have gifts. I mean, this is worse than putting somebody in a concentration camp. Well, at least worse than putting them in a prison. At least in prison, he gets food and board. Here, you're a non-entity that can't do anything. So a union never came up with anything that tyrannical. Well, I'm not going to talk about the 1920s, the 30s when they had gulags, but I'm sure those are probably on around the corner. That's usually the next step. Well, we can't keep these people in if they're ghosted. We can't keep them in society because they're still talking. They're still coming on podcasts. Why don't we just put them all in one place? And then the next logical steps go from that. We know how this play plays out. It's been played out several times before. And I don't see the European Union hitting the brakes anytime soon. I don't see the desire.
Well, the U.S. playing all sides is a common theme, though. In 1941, before Harry Truman took the presidency, there's this quote he had in the New York Times where he said that, if the Germans are winning, we should help the Russians. If the Russians are winning, we should help the Germans, and that way let them kill each other, as many as possible. And this is kind of as long as both are weakened, we win. And again, and it's not exactly the same now, but the logic is still the same. You can destroy, for example, Nord Stream. You weaken the Europeans, and in their weakness, make them more dependent on the US, make them more obedient. I mean, look where the EU is now. 20 years ago, in terms of GDP, there was some parity between the US and the EU. Now, there's nothing. What remains of a deindustrializing Europe is being now